I'm an optimizer. I'm a professional money maker. You know, websites, they're like buckets with holes in them, and the money is leaking out. So my job is to go in, figure out where are the holes, why they are there, and what can we do to plug those holes so everybody would make more money. That's what I do professionally. Also in my life, I'll run a lot of experiments because plugging holes is all about experimentation. So, I might go to a supermarket, and it's like, hey, what if I would smile at the checkout girl? What would happen? And smile big and see what happens. I'm just running split tests. How many of you are running split tests, A/B tests, in your work or life? Or how many know what A/B testing is? Yeah, okay, thank God. So, of course, why do we run tests? Yes, to figure out what works better, but it's mostly about insight. Why something works better than something else. So we're running experiments in order to learn. And even my name actually is an experiment. And the goal here is to learn what people trust more, what they hear or what they read. So I meet somebody and say, hey, my name is Peep, Laja. Give them my card. It says my name there. Oh, Peep, Laja. I just told you what my name is. So I have proven through experimentation that people trust their eyes more than their ears. And I work with a lot of companies. I come in and I see all of the experiments that they have run. And I see all the things companies are screwing up all the time on a regular basis when running tests. They're actually running with false data, screwing it up in every imaginable way. And I'm going to talk about the biggest screw-ups that I have seen. Now, interesting, at the same time, I'm running a blog. I started a blog 2.5 years ago from zero, and now it's the world's most popular conversion blog with like 200,000 monthly readers, on my way to 1 million monthly readers maybe by the end of the year. And I discovered that content experimentation is very similar to running A/B tests. Because ultimately with content, and when I say content, I mean blog posts, videos, whatever, in order to bring in the right customer that would give us money, experimenting with that kind of content is very similar to running A/B tests. So the screw-ups are the same. I took a very data-driven approach to growing my blog, very number-driven, and it has worked for me, and maybe it will work for you too. The thing is that the world is overflowing with content, right? So much good content out there. So the barrier of entry with content is extremely high. If you want to build, your audience, get more buyers to your site, or make better videos than Funny or Die, it's really, really hard. So if we know that mediocre content ain't gonna do it for us, we need something better. Like, how do we know what's a good content? How do we know what's funnier than Funny or Die? It's very, very hard. So if we just rely on, hey, I have an idea, then you're doomed. It doesn't work that way anymore. We live in the age of data. So number one mistake that people do is that they think that they know what works. Of course, there are conversion clairvoyants among us. Anybody met a boss or a coworker, you show them the website, hey, this website's broken. Do you know, what to do to make more money? Oh, yeah, I have lots of ideas. Lots of people like that they think that they know what works. I do this stuff for a living. I'm slightly better than flipping a coin when it comes to guessing what will work. Slightly better, maybe 60%. So I know that opinions don't make money. If you rely on opinions to create content, too bad, you're going to go out of business. Other guys who rely on data are going to take over the game. So what are we to do? So if we acknowledge that we don't know what works, we need to investigate. So when I start to work on a website to figure out how can we make this website more money, how can we plug those holes so we would not leak money so much, I go in and I spend 4 weeks studying the site. I do qualitative research stuff. I talk to recent buyers. Hey, what kind of doubts and hesitations you had before buying this product, how long were you shopping for, that kind of stuff. I survey people to traffic on the website, hey, is there anything holding you back from buying this product right now? To really try to understand why people buy, how they'd like to buy. At the same time, I look at all the data numbers that are there on the website. What are people doing? What are they doing? What are they not doing? What are they ignoring? And eventually, I put together this picture. Aha, I know what the problems are because the data is telling me this, combining qualitative, quantitative data. And of course, when we look at any data, we have to understand that there are no average people. If you take somebody from, let's say, a 50-year-old guy in Philadelphia and a 14-year-old girl in Los Angeles, the average is like sexually confused 17-year-old in Kansas, right? And then that's what we optimize. That's our average. On average, doesn't mean anything. You have no average readers, no average buyers. So you need to segment the crap out of your traffic. In Google Analytics, if you are not looking at any data across segments, you're doing it wrong. If you show average time on site, it's the most useless metric ever invented, right? So you always have to look at any data across segments. If I create a blog post, who will it resonate with? Is it my old-time, long-time readers, or is it these new people who are coming in? So remember, data-driven, do your research, figure out what people want before creating content. Number two, if I run A/B tests, number one mistake people do is that they call it early. It's like part of the fault is, of course, with tools. This is the same A/B test. So, a couple of days in and later. So, first thing, the test tells me that variation 1 has 0% chance of winning. It's a treatment for, I don't remember, a product page. And the tool tells me, hey, 0% chance of winning. I declare, hey, it lost. I move on. But of course, if you're a smart optimizer, you know that you should not call tests early. Eventually, this variation 1. It says 95% confidence, but this is still statistically valid. Can I be now certain that this variation 1 is actually a better variation? Actually, I cannot, because statistical significance is not a stopping rule. There are way more things that go into there. And most of all, we need to look at absolute numbers. How many people were part of this experiment? So here, in this case, we see it's like we had 87 versus 106 conversions, transactions. It's not a big enough sample size. At least you need minimum 250, 350 conversions per variation in order to call a test. Now, how does this relate to content? Well, same thing. So this is me doing analysis on my blog content. I was looking at which writers are the best, which categories, blog categories, tags work the best. And I was measuring social shares, comment numbers, blah, blah, blah. And I said, hey, well, look at this Ankit Oberoi guy, it's like average score 776, but he only wrote one post. So I'll say, bullshit. This is not statistically significant. This Ankit guy has to write many more articles before I can measure, or before I can actually know how good of a writer he is. Anybody can pull off a miracle. So if you assess your content, make sure that your absolute numbers of readers, of interactions, are valid before you make any judgments based on your content. And also, if I run an A/B test has to run at least a couple of business cycles. What's a business cycle? Business cycle is, in Google Analytics, when you look at your traffic, it's usually just waves. So one wave is your business cycle. It's typically a week, sometimes 2 weeks, a month, whatever. So the traffic on Monday is not the same as traffic on Wednesday. A typical e-commerce site, on a typical e-commerce site, you look at the conversion rate per day, and what you will see is that conversion rates vary a lot. So here, let's say, we look at Thursday versus Saturday. It's almost double, 2 times difference between the conversion rates. So we need to test full weeks at a time. If I start a test on Monday, I'll end it on a Monday, after 2 Mondays maybe. So when we put out a new piece of content, before assessing whether this piece of content was successful or not, should we do more of it or not, we need to let it run a couple of weeks, a couple of business cycles. Otherwise, we're calling it early. So it's very important to keep in mind. So because every content we create has to have long-term impact. We're not only for short-term wins. Now, we know that testing is mainly there to learn something about the audience, right? Some people have no traffic on their site, maybe a couple of thousand visitors a month. They're running A/B tests with the goal to learn something about the audience. They're just wasting their fucking time. What you have to do, if you don't have traffic, don't test because it takes fucking forever. Instead, you go and talk to people. You do qualitative research. So if you put out a blog post and you want to know, is it good? Is it resonating with people? And you have like 20 readers a day, you know, you're going to go crazy before you figure out whether this content is good or not. So what you need to do is you need to do qualitative surveying, basically talking to people. You go to your target audience, show them this article, have them mark, hey, this is interesting, this is boring, this is interesting, this is boring, this is confusing, blah, blah, blah. And then you have, voila, analysis of your blog post. And you do it with like 10 people. No more, 5 to 10 people. And now you understand whether this content that you created, if it was any good or not, if you should do more of it or not. Now, when I run A/B tests, every test has to be based on a hypothesis that I found from the data through talking to people. People have these problems or whatever the issue is. Every test is based on a hypothesis. It's not a random bullshit idea I just pulled out of my ass. It's like, hey, let's this yellow button here. I mean, real world doesn't work like that. So same thing with your content. If you are creating content based on your random ideas, you're doing it wrong. Instead, I don't know, whatever business you're in, you go to your target audience, you figure out what is it that they want to know. You know, in case of my blog, I constantly talk to people, hey, you e-commerce business owners, what are the things that you struggle with? And based on that information, I create blog posts. That's my hypothesis. Hey, their checkout funnels are crap, maybe I have access to the data, and then I create the content based on whatever data I have available to me, not just random ideas. So think about what is your regular content based on? Is it your random idea and inspiration, or actually what customers are telling you? If you run A/B tests, the biggest mistake you can do is just you waste your traffic on stupid shit, basically. It's like you test stuff that is easy to test. You test buttons that are easy to test. You just copy like random crap, not based on a hypothesis. Same thing with your blogging. If you write content, put out content that is just, hey, I had this random idea, then you are wasting traffic. Traffic is so precious, attention is so precious. I have an editorial policy where I don't allow a single blog post that I don't think is good. Because we're talking about the brand and reputation and the brand promise. These days, the competition for content is so nuts, you can't afford a single bad blog post, really. I mean, it's your reputation. If your goal is to be the best in the world, and why shouldn't that be your goal, is to be the best blog in your niche, I mean, you got to do it right. Every single blog post that I set out to write, I'm telling myself, I want this to be the best post ever written about this topic, ever. You know, with that, of course, I don't succeed every single time, but I'm trying, and I get very close. So you can't afford a bad post if you want good traffic that buys your stuff. Another thing, measurement. If you only rely on a single source of measurement tools, you're putting yourself, I mean, you don't know if you can trust the data or not. So if you run tests on, you know, split test and optimize or visual website optimize or whatnot, often there's some sort of an implementation problem. So you think you have a winner while actually it's losing because it's just a reporting error. So you need to send all the data to Google Analytics as well. Look at what other tool is saying. So same thing if you're measuring your blog reach and your social media stuff. Make sure that you don't rely on a single source of analytics because it might be wrong. It might be wrong. So you don't want to waste your life on somebody's stupid bug, right? Giving up after your first test fails. So in an e-commerce setting, A/B testing, I run a test. Let's say that I figure out that on checkout page, people are really privacy and security conscious. Okay, so based on that hypothesis, I create a treatment, and it fails. Oh, well, I'll move on to testing some other page, right? No. Because a single hypothesis can be implemented in 10 different ways. So Whether should I put a security logo here, here, what specific logo, which language do I use? There are 10 ways to implement my hypothesis. So same thing, you find out something that your customers really care about, you write that piece of content, oh well, and the blog post didn't do too well. So what do you say, I give up, write about something else? No, you try to tackle the exact same issue from another angle. Maybe your implementation, or probably your implementation just sucked. It's not the topic might have been, your hypothesis might have been right. It's the way you execute it that sucked. So don't be afraid to just keep at it. If you know there's a popular topic, just keep doing it. Because often, most things don't work out the first time you try them. Also, validity threats. So I'm trying to understand which kind of content resonates with my audience. What kind of content should I do more? Now, there are validity threats. I might have all the data, hey, people are liking it, they're commenting, sharing it, whatever, or vice versa, nothing's happening. So, and you think, hey, this post sucked, so I shouldn't do more content like that. So what you want to analyze is that, hey, is there something happening in the external world that might be skewing up my data here? For instance, let's say you split test your homepage and your homepage B features your CEO who just shot an elephant. Of course, that's going to not do so well, right? Same thing, if you write a blog post about a topic that, I don't know, children of Africa in, whatever, and there's a horrible story that something is happening to children in Africa, and then your content maybe bombs because you're making some remarks you were not aware about the news story that is happening. So something's happening in the external world that is messing up your data about your post or how your post is doing. It might have been a good post without that scandal. Or you write a blog post, but it's the Olympic Games right now. So everybody's focused on like who's going to win the decathlon skiing thing, right? Everybody cares about that. So it might be something happening outside that you can't help with. Or, hey, I'm going to test how good this content is. Before I blast it all over the internet, I'm going to test it with a subgroup. So I have this special mailing list. I'm going to email it to these people, and they're going to consume my content and rate it and whatever. Now, that group of people in email is probably not representative of your overall traffic, your regular traffic on your website. So if you test with a small subgroup of people, it's probably not going to be a good indication of how your content's going to do. So you have to be aware of this kind of stuff. Wrong timing, wrong audience. If you send the content out on Monday, but Monday nobody opens their emails, doesn't mean that your content sucked, it's just the timing sucked. So you need to be aware of all these things that can go wrong. When you run A/B tests, not every test is going to be a big win. Actually, after doing it for a while, the law of diminishing returns will kick in, so you start getting smaller and smaller gains. But that's okay, because if you improve your conversion rate on average just 5% a month, that's 80% over a year. That's just how math works, compounding interest. So even if your content, you don't have massive viral success with your content, that's all right, just keep at it, because every little bit will add up. So even if you try hard, not everything will succeed, so that's okay, just move on, whatever. And in A/B testing world, if you're not running tests every single day, means that you are not learning about your customers every single day. It's a huge waste. It's sad, really. So you should have a test running up based on a hypothesis, not some random crap, on every page, all the time, every day. At the same time, we know that the competition for content is nuts, so you need to be working on your content every single day. Every single day that you or somebody in your team is not working on content, it's a wasted day. Because ultimately, content is our main branding, it's our main lead gen. Content is everything online these days. So we need to be working on content all the damn time. And we don't necessarily need to be publishing every day, because writing good content is very time consuming. I spend 12 to 16 hours on a blog post. Because my goal is to write the best blog post of all time. If you want to see the best blog post of all time in action, check out my blog. Thank you very much.